All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Dominic. For those who don't know me, I'm a developer evangelist at a company called Twilio, but I also co-founded a hackathon called Jakob's Hack, which some of you might know about. And as Swift said, I'm going to talk to you today about sponsors and whether they're a boon or a bane for your event. And so how did I get to that? Why did I even come up with this talk? Well, I have this theory that a sponsor can either hugely improve your event or completely ruin the atmosphere or reputation of your event. And to understand how I got there, we first need to talk about what sponsors actually bring to you and why we have them in the first place. And the thing that you might have in your head is money. And that's true because we need money to run our events. We need to pay food. We need to do all of these. So that's a fair point. But there's so many other things. For example, their product. So one thing that people typically provide is access to their product, and that's great. That's great because especially if the product is paid for or if it's something that isn't available yet and they give you access during an event, that's super awesome. But they also, in most cases, give you access to their people, like, for example, through mentors or access through to recruiters or any kind of other company representatives. So in general, a good sponsor ideally contributes all three of these factors in a nice fashion. However, there lies a danger with all three of these because there are things that can go wrong with all three of these if you aren't careful or if you mess something up. And so I'm going to talk about a couple of things that can go wrong with all three of these. So the first one is money. And this is where my gifts start because every one of you knows hackathons, and hackathons become more and more popular. Because of that, more and more companies actually want a slice of that. And however, that can attract the wrong sponsors. Essentially sponsors that are willing to throw a bunch of money at you, but have the completely wrong expectations. And I have a story here that I would like to share, and that's last year a friend of mine actually called me up, and he was working as a consultant for a company that was interested in getting into hackathons. So he was like, well, I know Jakob's Hack, I know the guys, I'm going to call him up. And what he told me was that company was willing to throw a bunch of cash at us. And I was like, okay, that sounds pretty good. Where's the catch? And the catch was that they wanted to let the people work on a very specific challenge and then afterwards have ownership of that solution, as well as the possibility of hiring these people afterwards to work on this project. And that didn't fit at all with the philosophy of Jakob's Hack and the goals that we had. So I advised him of some other potential solutions. But the bottom line here is that, sure, we could have ran the whole event just based on their money, and we wouldn't have to talk to any other sponsors. However, we would have either ruined our reputation with the sponsors because we wouldn't have been able to fulfill their expectations because nobody would have hacked on the solution, or we would have to change the nature of the event and would have ruined our reputation with the participants. So I think the real message here is it's not all about the money. You need to think about what you want to achieve with your hackathon and what's the kind of goals of your hackathon. All right, so the next thing is products. And I think the great thing, at least for me at hackathons, is that it allows you to try something new and play around with technology that you've never used before and just not to accept the status quo. And this is where really good sponsors come in and give you access to this whole wide range of awesome, cool technology to build really awesome things. However, some of the products might be easier to use than others. And with a limited time of hackers, that can quickly lead to frustration by the sponsors because if a sponsor isn't, if nobody uses the technology of a sponsor, the sponsor won't come back next year because they will be like, why do I even spend the money if nobody uses my product? And this is where you as an organizer should come in and use your expertise both as an organizer as well as a hacker to give them pointers on how you can best provide a getting started template or a basic set of quick start documentation that people then can use to work off it. Or even if you don't have time for that, at least offer them the first workshop slot so that people have enough time to get accustomed with it and come up with questions. So last but not least, let's talk about people. So typically, as I said, mentors or recruiters. And having company representatives at your event is great for so many different reasons. First of all, they have experience with their products, so they know how these products work. They probably even built them. So if you're doing something really stupid with it, they will probably be able to help you with that, or even figure out something that is really weird in their product. But they also give you this fresh set of eyes at 8 a.m. in the morning when you're trying to desperately try to fix your demo and yeah, find that one typo, that one semicolon, or the indentation in Python that you screwed up. And if you're interested in actually working at any of these companies, they're also a great way to get insight in how it is to work at a certain company and how their experience there is. But there's nothing worse than poorly prepared mentors. And I don't mean people that don't know how to answer every single question, but more not knowing what to expect in general. And in fact, I personally failed twice here to properly brief sponsors on mentorship, and that typically led to two problems. The first one being the representatives not knowing how to talk to the hackers. So that the hackers came to me afterwards and complained that they felt annoyed by some of the sponsors because no hacker wants to talk in the middle of their concentration phase about the amazing recruiting options at sponsor A. So give your hackers a clear point where they can go and talk to the sponsors. So have like some designated sponsor corner instead of like distributing them all around the venue so that they don't need to hunt them down. And inform the mentors on how to not harass their the participants, because it will be the only thing that they will remember from that company and potentially your event. The other thing is attendance time. So most people aren't developer evangelists or people who are used to spending their weekends at hackathons. So they will typically not be very keen of spending their whole time there, and especially not 12 to 14 hours on a single day. So we actually had that where mentors left really early, around like 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. And that isn't helpful because most of you, I think, know that most problems only occur after that time. So if nobody of that company is there, you lose all the benefits that I mentioned before because, well, they're not there anymore. So overall, I have 4 tips for you to take away today that give you the most out of your sponsorship. The first one is communication is key. So understand what you want from a sponsor and what they want from you, and communicate this clearly. So there might be a company that is more interested in people using their products, their APIs, or things like that. There's another company that's more interested in getting access to this pool of amazing, talented people at hackathons. There might be people that just want to support your event or want to have like a nice visual branding of them at your event. And you need to figure out what they really want and what you want from them. The other thing is negotiate, and not just based on money. If there's a sponsor that probably says that like they want that package, but they can't afford it, think about other ways that you can find a deal with them that still benefits you. So if they have a product that they can cheaply provide to you, and that saves you money in your budget for prices, for example, see if you can make a deal there and get it cheaper to them. The other thing is, think about how you can benefit your participants. So sure, you need money, but do you really need 5 API sponsors that give you this money and all their APIs all do the very same thing? Because that case is not only awkward for the participants who don't know which challenge to take part in, but it's also awkward for the sponsors who are just going to spend all day justifying why their API is better than the one from the neighbor table. And the other thing is, be clear about mentorship. So properly brief your sponsors about the role of mentors and how to best communicate with hackers so that they can get the most out of their sponsor time and that your hackers feel the most comfortable. So in summary, sponsorship is more than just money. And the other thing is very important, your pre-event sponsor communication shouldn't just be limited to sending a sponsorship package and later on an invoice and then seeing them surprisingly at the event. If you want to know more about what sponsors kind of expect, this was a great Q&A from last year's HackCon. It's also on the YouTube channel of MLH if you don't remember this pretty easy link. All right, with that, thank you everyone. My name is Dominic, and I'm a developer evangelist at a company called Twilio.